The Vivo V50 with stunning design and pro-level portrait photography. Buy now.
Velamal feels proud to honor the physical education teachers with 5 cars and 15 lakhs.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.
Hello, Prithviraj.
Hi.
Welcome. He's here to talk about Rajamouli film that he's doing. He's going to give away the plot and all such details. Is that right? Or
Which what? Which
no, but seriously, when you put out a tweet saying, deliverables given, check
Yeah.
mark, something else, preparing for a new role, check
Yeah,
mark,
yeah.
preparing for long dialogues in a thing that's not my native language, in a film that's not my native language, check mark. I'm nervous. Do you still get nervous when you do a film that is in a language that you're not terribly fluent in?
I do, actually.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
I mean, I get nervous when I'm doing a film in my own language
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think you become more nervous as you become more aware of your own craft and what it involves. I remember a story that Abhishek Bachchan told me when we were shooting for Ravan, because I remember it so clearly since it was about such a huge legend.
Right.
It was about Amitabh Bachchan sir. One day I remember we were talking about this film called, I think, Bagban or something, where Bachchan sir delivers this long monologue in the climax. And I was just telling him that, probably any other actor, it might have just come across as just melodramatic and not effective, but Bachchan sir just holds you, you want to cry with him, just holds you. So now I remember Abhishek telling me if tomorrow he's got like a scene where he's delivering a long monologue in Hindi, and Bachchan sir is probably the best, in Hindi diction and all that. He apparently still the previous night like holds that piece of paper, walks to and fro, and he learns and he studies. And I was like, wow, that which is why maybe he's Amitabh Bachchan. But now, so many years later, I understand that process because it's just a craft, acting especially, I think. It's a craft where the more you discover yourself, the more you understand that you really don't know yourself as an actor. So I definitely get nervous. I see Mohanlal sir, Mammootty sir, all have that nervous energy. We were doing long back I did a film with Mammootty sir called Pokri Raja.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played his brother or something.
Yeah, I played his brother.
Yeah.
It was a smash hit actually. So there's a scene where Mammootty sir was delivering a line, and that line was sort of improvised off paper just before shooting. So he called me to his caravan and he said, "Listen, I'm just going to say this. Do you think it's working?" So I'm like, wow. I mean, so they have the doubt. They have their own doubts about what they're doing, and it's that self-doubt and that nervous energy. I think that's what makes an actor truly good. And I hope I'll get there someday. But I'm thinking I'm on the right path because I do get nervous.
Right.
Yeah.
You wrote this on Twitter after finishing Empuraan. You said, when I took up the challenge of directing a huge film like Lucifer,
Yeah.
most of my well-wishers told me it wasn't the wisest decision I've made.
Yeah.
And as an actor, it's a foolish investment of time.
Yeah.
Why do you think they said that?
I understand. And actually they meant well for me.
Okay.
It's not like they really meant well. All those people who told me, including, my very close circles, when I announced Lucifer, asked me, are you sure about this? It's like going to take away at least 8 months from your acting career. And I was doing quite well as an actor. Thankfully, I'm okay even now. So people thought, you take away so much of time.
I want to interrupt you there. You're not okay. You had Ardajivdam and Guruvai Rabul and Nadal.
I mean, thankfully.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's being very modest, I'm saying.
So I understand where they come from, because when an actor, usually directs a film, most of the times it ends up being a project that is to serve their own, want of creation, want of making a film. And the safer thing for me to do would have been to do a very indulgent, small, artsy film where I just wanted to explore myself as a filmmaker and all that. But I think...
Or maybe even a Bro Daddy.
No, Bro Daddy is even tougher if you ask me. The safer thing would have been to do like make a film and say, this is for the festival circuits and all that, so that I'm not putting it out there for judgment, with the public eye. But I think I chose the toughest thing to do because while announcing Lucifer, there were no two ways about it. I'm making the film just for one thing, for it to work in the theatres. And as little respect as that sadly gets, making a film that works in the theatres is the toughest thing to do if you ask me. Yeah. So, and I know that when people spoke to me about it not being a very wise decision, they meant that in case I fail, the judgments and the remarks are going to be very, very harsh. and it will end up being I'd end up being in a position where, you know, I'd have spent so much time away from my acting career, and I've taken a decision that doesn't make any sense to me financially as well, and then end up in a place where, you know, I'm going to have to hear so many people bad-mouthing me about what I've done with the film. I knew all that, so I appreciate the concern, but it was something I wanted to do. I really wanted to make a film, and I wanted to really make a film that sort of works in theaters. I wanted to take up that challenge. Thankfully, it panned out the way it did. So yeah, here I am.
No, but that's interesting because, you know, that to test the waters, you would think that a smaller film might be better,
yeah.
but you're working with a big star,
Yeah.
a star whose every movie is judged to the microscope,
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, Mohanlal is there, Mohanlal is doing this, Mohanlal is doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, because he's not just a star, he's like a legend, right? So it's
absolutely.
like, so to take up the task of showcasing a legend in a new light,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, that's like a real big challenge.
No, it wasn't showing him in a new light or anything. I don't.
I'm saying, you know, to present him well.
Yeah, but the fact is that when I did Lucifer in 2018, it was back then the biggest Malayalam film ever attempted. Ever attempted. So I also know personally, now that we are friends, we talk about it quite a lot, that my producer, Anthony Perumbavoor, got a zillion calls asking him, what are you doing? I mean, like, you're going ahead and making a film that is hitherto unheard of in terms of budgets and scale, and you're just going with him. He's got, how do you know he's going to be able to pull this off? Yeah. There were conversations in the industry about how maybe Prithviraj is also a filmmaker, he's got that thought process in him working, but that's not good enough to be trusting someone with a 30 crore film back in 2018. You know? But I also thought that conviction from Mr. Anthony Perumbavoor and Mr. Mohanlal, that actually was a fuel for me. You know, through the making of Lucifer, I haven't had one single moment where I was doubted by my producer or by my lead actor. Whatever I wanted, whatever I thought I should be doing, it was always, yeah, if that's what you want to do, by all means. I remember I was supposed to shoot the tail end of Lucifer in a private charter terminal in Dubai, near Jebel Ali. It's beautiful. It's got like these about 100 plus private charter aircrafts and these amazing top-of-the-line private jets parked there, all belonging to oligarchs and all that. So it's amazingly cool to look at. And I had obtained permission to shoot there. And unfortunately, last moment, the script got rejected by the Dubai Film Commission because I don't know the reason. They said was it deals with the narcotics mafia and all that. I don't know. So last moment, I had to look at an option. And we had already announced the release date. So it was a friend of mine who suggested St. Petersburg. He said, you know, there's Russia and all that. And he had a friend in the consulate there. So I just told Mr. Mohanlal and Mr. Anthony Perumbavoor, I'm leaving to Russia. I'll go there, and in 48 hours, I'll give you a call. If the call is come, just get on a flight and come. This is actually what happened. And Mr. M.A. Baby, he's a politician in Kerala. He actually helped us to obtain the visas on an emergency basis. So I got my visa in like 24 hours, and Lal sir and the rest of the team got it in like 48 hours. And I just left to Russia. I left to Russia, and Anthony Perumbavoor just gave me a credit card saying, yeah, you know, whatever you need. And I went there in 2 days. I sort of set up the shoot, and I called Mohanlal sir and said, sir, just get on the next flight and come to Russia. That's the kind of trust that they had on me, which is priceless for a filmmaker. And I'll forever be thankful for that. And that's exactly the kind of trust that Anthony Perumbavoor and Mohanlal had in me for this film also. I just really hope I live up to it this time also.
So is there a part of you that feels good about having proved those doubters wrong?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be lying if I say no. But more than proving the doubters wrong, actually, the feeling of happiness is more that, you know, there's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time.
Which is directing.
Yeah, to make a film. And finally, I made a film, and I've told myself, your aspirations were rightly placed. You know, you always had it in you to make a film. That is a true happiness. The first film that I really ever said yes to directing was not Lucifer. It was a film called City of God,
right,
which later became a Lijo directorial. Lijo Jospellisheri directed it. Yeah. He made a far superior film than what I had envisioned.
It's a crazy film.
I love it. I mean, it's one of my personal favorites, and I don't think it would have been that good if I had made that film. That's the first film I said yes to directing. But that's around the same time Mani Ratnam sir called me for Ravanan. So then I obviously sort of let go of that opportunity and I did Ravanan. And thankfully then Lijo did the film and made a beautiful film. So that was the first film. So even from back then I thought of always wanted to, you know, make a film. And I kept telling myself that maybe it's just one film. We'll just direct one film. When I did Lucifer, I thought I'm going to direct one film, just get it out of my system, and then, live your life as an actor. But I just enjoyed it a little too much. So,
Here we are.
yeah.
As a reverse analysis, why do you think Lucifer did what you wanted, which is to work at the box office? Why do you think it did that?
I think it was a very honest film, so after the film released and upon rewatch, and then it became like this OTT success as well, then people started discussing about the other layers of the film and how it was shot, and there was this particular filming language that I wanted to adopt, and I was very consistent with it through the film and all that. All that became topics of discussion much later on. But I think the primary reason it worked is because at a superficial level, as a popcorn entertainer, it worked.
Okay.
Yeah, it worked at that level, and that was the packaging around the whole subterranean layers and the deeper, messaging in the film and all that. So, which is why I keep saying that I'm a big fan of filmmakers like Manmohan Desai, I.V. Shashi, Shaji Kailas, and Joshi sir, all that, because they get that first layer correct.
Yeah.
It's like the coating around a medicine. Why is medicine coated in a capsule? Because the medicine itself might not go down very easily. So it's that skill. So I think Murali as a writer really lended his expertise in packaging the film in a right way, where people buying a ticket for 100 rupees and getting into a theatre with a bag of popcorn will look at the screen and really have fun and enjoy what they're seeing and hearing. And then when they start thinking of the film, they realize, oh, right, there's more to it than what we actually felt in the theatre, which is what we have tried with Empuraan also. So I think these are the reasons maybe Lucifer, and then just I must be lucky. So
I think there's hard work and all kinds of things, and then luck just plays one little part along the way.
I agree. I mean, if I had to pick one faculty to hold onto for the rest of my life, would be my ability of diligence. That's the most rated in my view, and in all walks of life, from any profession, from cricket to to cinema, to anywhere. It's I always think it's hard work over natural ability. Which is why a Steve Waugh is a Steve Waugh and a Vinod Kambli is a Vinod Kambli.
Well, that's interesting you say that. You don't think you have a natural ability? It's
no, of course. I mean, even a Steve Waugh needs natural ability.
Right.
But it's like Sachin Tendulkar has God-given ability, unreal ability.
Yeah.
But I keep reading so many articles and books on how he was also the most hardworking.
Yeah.
I think that is very important.
What are the stylistic influences when you did Lucifer and now when you've done Empuraan? Because many directors say, I'm going to go and look at these things for a lookbook or what were the stylistic influences?
None of my films have had a lookbook.
Okay.
I don't do previs. None of my films have had a reference log. I don't let my cinematographers have a lot.
You don't do storyboard?
No.
Okay.
I don't have storyboards. My VFX supervisors hate me, but I like to shoot that way. Having said that, I am a very studious filmmaker in the sense that I land upon location with the exact number of shots I want. But that's not born out of a storyboard. That's born out of the script. So I think if you closely follow the written text, the text will tell you how to shoot it.
Okay.
But you need to be able to closely follow it. And when I say closely follow, I don't mean by heart it. There is a layer of comprehension that you will have to bring to the written word. And if you understand it well enough, I think the written word will tell you, okay, now it's a track in. At this particular point, you need to be close up to the actor. This is where you need to cut away and show the audience this is where the actors are. I think the written text will tell you that. So when Murali gives me a script, I spend about at least 6 months writing my own script, which I call the shoot script. And sometimes I change around scenes. I completely change around the construction of a scene. Sometimes I change a scene. I write a scene myself. And at the end of that process, then I give a narration back to my writer. Obviously, we disagree. And then we have a lot of discussions and fights and debates. Then both of us reach a point where we mutually agree, okay, this is fine now. Which is then, after that is when I call my actor or my producer and say, my script is ready. So what happens in those 6 months or that process of writing my own script from Murali's script is that I then tend to, in that process, when I revisit every point in the film, I tend to have a very deep understanding of the written text, which to me then gives me the shot division in a very clear format. I mean, I'm like Empuraan, my first cut straight after shoot was 3 hours and 1 minute. The film is 3 hours. Yeah, so that's all that I shot. Same with Bro Daddy, same with Lucifer. Lucifer was, I think, 3 hours and 2 minutes, cut down to 2:57 or something. Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm talking about, like, do you tell your cinematographer, I want to look like The Godfather, or I want nothing at all?
No,
You don't
no.
go for any references at all?
No, I'm sure when I tell my cinematographer, see, in this particular shot, I'd only like a highlight on Abhimanyu Singh. I don't want to fill. So I just want the highlight and the light to fall on his cheeks. Let's not really have a clear view of his eyes, because I don't want. When I say that, I'm assuming that deep down I'm being influenced by something I saw,
Sure, yeah.
or something I read, or a picture I saw, something.
Yeah.
But I'm not able to place which one
Yeah,
it
but
is.
it's not a conscious thing.
No,
Yeah.
I don't have something on my laptop or iPad where I show someone and say, this is what I want. That I don't have.
That you don't
Yeah.
have. You have seen Mohanlal act as a co-star.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like watching Mohanlal as a director
Yeah.
from behind the camera? Do you see things in him that you did not notice while you were acting opposite him?
Definitely, definitely. Because I think when you're acting with him, you are in your own process as an actor. But when you're directing and you're watching an actor through the monitor or the viewfinder, you're also privy to the process.
Right.
Because you are looking up close in his face just before the shot, just before the, when I call for the sound. So you realize each actor has their own process on it. Mohanlal, sir, I think likes to disassociate. And it works for him wonderfully well. It's a bit tough for the filmmaker, I'll tell you why. Because he'd give you an earth-shatteringly good take, and let's say the focus is off a bit. And I'd call for one more, and I'll go and tell him, sir, the exact same thing, we just lost focus. He said, yeah, sure. He'll give you something completely different. And I'm like, sir, not this, what you did in the previous take. Oh, the previous take, okay. No, something different. I'm like, sir, what you did for the first take. He's like, really? What did I do? I said, sir, do you want to come and watch the monitor? He'll come. He'll watch the monitor. I'm like, oh, right, okay. He'll go. No. It's another thing. It's different. So there are multiple shots, in Lucifer especially, I've been more careful in Empuraan, where the shots are out of focus. So a lot of my cinematographer friends, after watching Lucifer, they've called me and said, well, so many shots are out of focus. Well, I know. Because I've kept it because that's the best performance. Right. So Mohanlal sir is like that. He disassociates a bit. Vivek Oberoi, 18 takes, you can pick any take.
He'll do the same thing.
Pinpoint. If I used to tell Vivek, when you, and he doesn't even know the language. If I tell him, Vivek, when you say this line, it's best not to look at Manju, so that you hold that look back for that punctuation point at the end. Yeah, okay. 18 takes for some reason. Trolley, light, something. Because I'm looking at the edit now, every single take, Vivek is pinpoint. So different actors, different processes. You're privy to that when you direct. When you act, you're within the space going through your own process. So then you're not aware of what the other actor is going through. So in that way, I think I'm assuming I'm a much better actor today, having watched so many actors go through so many great actors go through their processes and making me part of it, because they don't, as a director, they will pull you into their process. And I'm thinking I'm going to take all that wealth and now that's going to serve me as an actor. I hope so, yeah.
Tell me one scene, among many scenes, of course, but pick one scene in Lucifer, because Emperor nobody's seen yet, so I don't want to ask you that, where you felt totally, this is a shot that Mohanlal has given really well. I really like. It's exactly what I wanted, and it's exactly what was in the script, and he's just given me what I wanted.
Yeah. So when Lucifer starts, there is this whole build-up to the character, right? With this Govardhan Facebook Live. So we go through the whole plot, we establish the chaos, and then the whole build-up is leading up to the introduction of this character.
Right. This is after the CM dies and all.
Correct. Yeah. And unlike your normal big-ticket commercial film, I introduce my protagonist at the absolute lowest point in his life. He's shattered. He's just sitting on a church bench, not saying anything. He's shattered. But even then, with the character introduction and all that, you understand the gravitas of this man. Then he comes out and there's this whole crowd waiting outside the church, and he's about to step down. Where two small children, they come and say, are you going? He turns and he immediately changes. And there's a way he looks at the boy and says, Robicha, Rahelameng kondu thirichu ashrayathilekku po. Rathri katha parayan nere avumbo njan thirichetham. You immediately know that there is that orphan in him. There is this thing that he immediately connects with being an orphan. And these children are orphans, and these children might not have parents, and he immediately connects with that. He becomes another person, and then he gets up and he again becomes Stephen Nirmali, and he says, just one car. And he is so good at that, because I remember the first day he came, and after briefing him and all that, there's this question he asked me. He said, Mane, I'll say this in English, he asked me to me in Malayalam. Mane, Stephen is actually always sad. I said, yeah. That's amazing understanding of the context of the character. So yeah, I mean that, and I remember this because that was day one of shoot, and probably that was the first time as a director watching another actor that I went, oh wow, So yeah, I remember that. Then there are multiple sequences more.
Yeah. Now, you were given the opportunity to direct Rajinikanth.
Yeah.
In an alternate universe, let's assume you had the script of Lucifer or Empuraan, whatever it is, Bro Daddy, whatever it is. Do you think if that was ready, you could direct Rajinikanth? In other words, what I'm trying to ask you is, if you make a script for one superstar or one legendary actor, is that easily transmutable to like another superstar or actor? Of course, given a few tweaks or whatever it is.
So I don't know the answer to that, because I've never really made a script to an actor.
Right.
Lucifer was not my ideation of a Mohanlal film. Lucifer was something, it was actually initially called Valamgai. Lucifer was something that was written by Murali, not written, sort of thought of by
during Tian or something like that.
Yeah, even years before Tian, it was something that he had thought of. So it was not my ideation or my design of a Mohanlal film.
Right.
Bro Daddy didn't come to me as a Mohanlal Prithviraj film. Bro Daddy actually came to me as just a script. During the COVID times, these writers, wonderful writers and good filmmakers too actually, and great publicists. They actually own one of Malayalam cinema's premier publicity design houses called Old Monk, Srijit. So he came to me and said, I have this script, I don't know what to do with it. Do you want it? I said, what do you mean, do you want it? He said, do you want to buy it? So I read it and I bought it. Even when I bought it, I still didn't know it was going to be a Mohanlal film or anything. Then we were just sitting there bored, not knowing what to do, and Kerala, the theatres were shut. The Kerala government has still not given permission to shoot. And we were listening to stories of Andhra starting filming, Telangana starting filming, Tamil Nadu starting filming. So Mohanlal sir and I, we live in the same building, so we used to meet very often during the lockdowns. I was like, Jara, do you want to do a film? He said, yeah. Maybe we can take a small unit to some place like Hyderabad and shoot it. He said, yeah. And in 1 week we started shooting. That's how Bro Daddy happened. So I've never really made a film for a star, which is probably the reason when I got the opportunity to make a film for Rajini sir, I was not able to think of something. I think that process maybe does not suit me, to sort of sit down and think, okay, let me make a film with this star. Maybe that process does not...
This image or whatever.
Maybe that does not suit me. Having said that, I do have an idea in mind that would be great to do with Rajini sir, which initially was something I wanted to pitch in Hindi. But anyway, let's see.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. A similar question. While promoting Guruvayur Ambalanadayil, they asked you, I think you said that you had an idea, a script that you liked really, you liked it a lot. You pitched it to Mammootty, and he liked it a lot. And then, but your schedules were so full that you guys couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So again, as a filmmaker, do you have a separation between this kind of subject I would go to Mammootty, and this kind of subject I think I would go to Mohanlal, or again is that a totally...
It's just a very organic thing that happens to a filmmaker. I mean, at least to me. Because that when you read a script, at some point, because of you've grown up watching so many of their films and all that, you sort of deviate towards these. So I don't know, I've never said this anywhere before. Okay, so this is your exclusive.
Okay.
Baradwaj, this is your exclusive for today. I pitched Bro Daddy to Mammootty first.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted Mammootty sir to do John Cartadi. It was not the John Cartadi that you see today. My first ideation of the film was a very Kottayam Kunyachan sort of a, very earthy Christian family, rich but earthy Christian family, plantation and all that. And I thought it would be really cute to see Mammootty do this love-struck husband, and like head over heels in love, because nobody sort of associates that image with him,
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
off late. So I thought it'd be really cute to do that. So I pitched it to Mamuka. He liked the script, but unfortunately he couldn't do it immediately. So he said, "Can we do it after a while?" So I actually told him, Mamuka, I would love to wait and do this later, but the only reason I am thinking of directing this film right now is because I'm thinking of doing a film in these COVID times where we can only shoot with 50 people, social distancing on set and all that. If these times get over and we are now in an open market where any kind of films are possible, this is really not the film I want to do with you. I want to do like a big ticket film with you, not a small, not something like Bro Daddy. But I completely understood that he had already given his commitment to another film, which was being produced by a very, very close associate. George Ayrton was producing that film. So there's no way I could just barge in and say, no, I want to do it immediately. And I knew that by the time that film and the next film he had to do, those two films got over, COVID restrictions would be lifted. We were already at the fag end of the pandemic. And then if I go back to Mammootty sir, I then would want to do like a really big film with him. So it didn't happen. And Mohanlal sir knows this, that I first told this to Mammootty sir. And it would have been a different Bro Daddy. It would have been a completely different kind of a film. But yeah, that's the film that I pitched to Mamuka.
One thing I'm just imagining is, it's once an actor sits in a role, it's very difficult to imagine how another actor might have done it, because they own that role, right?
No, so you can't. So I really can't just pitch the John Katadi I had in mind with Mamuka to Laleta. And vice versa. The John Katadi that is there right now is not the John Katadi I would ever cast Mamuka in. Like I told you, I had a different version of the film in mind. My original idea of the film was set in Pala, in a rich plantation family, and I wanted to sort of bring back his Kottai Ngunnachan sort of a there's this flavor that he brings to these central Travancore characters, Mamuka, and I wanted that family to be like that, and the girl's family to be like very urban, Cochin City, and all that. And my idea was that how this so-called native plantation family, who might not be very educated and all that, deals with this life circumstance so much more maturely than this urban city-dwelling family. So that was my ideation behind the film, but yeah.
Yeah, but I've told you this, I think, but I've just loved your direction of Bro Daddy.
Thank you so much.
It's so difficult to find a well-directed comedy. I mean, yes, a lot of comedies work because the lines work, because the situation is
comedies are tough to direct. I agree with that.
But the way you staged and directed this movie I just found it super amazing. So I was like,
thank you so much. I mean, I think I was subconsciously hugely influenced by Prithviraj sir and Siddiq Lal films. I think many others, but Prithviraj sir and the legendary Siddiq Lal duo, I think they've sort of set such an international language to filming comedy that every Malayali, I think, will be influenced by their films.
By their films, What is the toughest thing about having a hit film and making a sequel to it?
So the toughest thing is actually also the advantage you have. The toughest thing is that you're already going to be putting a film out there against huge expectations. And the good thing is those expectations. You can be rest assured that the film is going to open big and all that. You don't have to worry if it's going to gain traction and all that. But having said that, Empuraan is a little different from your run-of-the-mill sequel.
Okay.
I would maybe want to call it as a follow-up to Lucifer that exists as a stand-alone film, which is essentially a mid-piece of a trilogy. So I think for somebody who's not seen Lucifer, this would still work as a standalone film. Yeah, I guess maybe for someone who's not seen Lucifer, maybe when you're in a theater and suddenly the audience claps for one particular line, you might think, why are they clapping for this? That you'll only know if you see part one. Other than that, I think the film in itself is pretty much a standalone film. And even the timeline-wise, it is not just about what happened after the events in Lucifer. We also revisit the past and all that. So it's not your usual run-of-the-mill sequel, so to speak. But yes, I mean, as far as the audience perception is concerned, it is Lucifer 2. And it's a completely different world in the sense you still have Kerala politics. The film and the story is very much set in Kerala, but you also have a storyscape and you know, backdrops that are come very, very new as far as Lucifer is concerned in Empuraan. I hope people like what they see. I've tried to be really honest with the film. When I first read the script, the first thing that crossed my mind too was that this is really going to be possible to pull off in Malayalam, because I can't do a green mat film unless it's a film like that. I can't sort of shoot my actors against green mats and then have, plates. And I like to shoot real. So to shoot a film like this in your real language and actually going to the locations and waiting for the right light conditions and all that takes a lot of effort and money and time. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, my producer and the lead actor had absolute faith in me, and that's all that I'm hoping for, that faith is not misplaced.
You begin the character dressed in all white.
Yeah.
And, the whole transition is that this person at the end is dressed in all black. So there's a symbolic arc that's completed in that movie.
Yeah.
So my curiosity is, and of course I don't think you're going to be able to answer this right now, but my curiosity is, you've already shown the arc.
Yeah.
Where will you take this further? It's almost like, so that's my curiosity. So
to know the arc of that particular character in its entirety, I'll have to be able to do part 3 as well.
Right.
Yeah. Only then you will know the arc of that particular character in its entirety. But there is very much an arc and an effect and a motive for that character in part 2. And it's pretty much the narrative is led by that particular character's influence on the entire plot. Much like part 1, it's a very busy world. It's got a lot of characters and a lot of subplots, all joining together to what I hope forms a very coherent narrative storyline. It's not a film where any actor is going to be on screen for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Very much like part 1. But the central character, make no mistake, is Qureshi Abraham / Stephen Nirumballi.
Yeah, I want to talk about writing with Murali Gopi. You've done that quite a lot.
Yeah.
And fingers crossed I'll be able to talk to him. We're trying to work this out.
Oh, you haven't done that interview?
We haven't done that interview
okay,
yet.
okay.
He's stuck in Trivandrum for some reason. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He pitches something to you, right? Do you guys work on instinct, or do you have something like a Hollywood act structure in mind? Are you academic about it, or are you instinctive about it?
So both of us have our own processes in the beginning. Murali is not somebody who, I know some writers like going and sitting some plays, or first they want to they'll say, okay, I'm going to write. So 3 months I'm going to, like say for example, Sachi. Sachi, when he wrote, would go to Mugambika and he'd be there for 3 months till he finished the script. It's a process.
The same place every time?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lodge there that he used to. Murali sits in his home. He sits in his home, goes nowhere. And the toughest part for him is Murali still makes more money as an actor, right? I mean, he's a fairly well-paid character actor in the industry. And when he starts writing, he finds it very difficult to go and act in another film. Mm-hmm. So he sort of shuts out. And his process is such that it'll take him maybe 1.5 years to write a script. But the actual writing is 3 days or 4 days.
Right.
And for someone watching it from outside, it might think like that for the 1 year, he's just hanging around doing nothing.
Yeah.
But he calls it cloud formation.
Okay.
So he calls it cloud formation, and he describes the process as though like the clouds keep forming, and then it's a cloud burst. So I know that the writing actually takes 3 to 4 days, because he'll finally send me a message saying putting pen to paper. And then 3 or 4 days later, he's like, okay, we'll see and read it to you. When once he does that, then I have my own process, which I do sitting in my home. I don't have a writer's room. I don't do that with 10 other writers or my assistants, nothing. Nobody is part of that process. It's just me, a pad, papers and pen. And then I do that. It could be 6 months, it could be 7 months, 8 months. Once I finish that, like I told you, then the collaborative effort starts. Then Murali and I spend time with each other. Then I tell him what I don't agree with, why I think this should be like this. Then Murali will say why he thinks it should not be changed, and that and this. Then sometimes I sort of change the narrative in the sense that I might not adopt the screenplay that he's given me. The event flow that I want to narrate, the plot might be different. So there's this debate and discussion that happens, and finally we land on mutually agreeable form of the film, which is what I then pitch to my actor, my producer. I give a lot of narrations. I give narrations to my technical team, I give narrations to my editor, to my music director, to multiple actors. And even within the technical team, I sort of, my narrations are different. If it's for the production design team, if it's for the camera team, my narrations are different. So I give a lot of narrations. I like it because I think on each narration, I sort of learn and understand the film more.
Right. When you say different, you mean you focus on different aspects for
Yes,
each?
yes. My narration to the cinematography team will be different than my narration to the production design team.
Right.
Would be different than my narration to the costume team. The story remains the same of course, but as I keep detailing, subconsciously I will tend to, if I'm narrating it to the cinematography team, I'll say that, okay, opening we see this shot and there's just a faraway source. As the focus racks and you realize it's a doorway that you see long, far away. And then somebody enters in the foreground in silhouette, suddenly the focus racks back to the figure. So I narrate like that. This I don't say to the costume team, so that difference happens.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The Vivo V50 with stunning design and pro-level portrait photography. Buy now.
Velamal feels proud to honor the physical education teachers with 5 cars and 15 lakhs.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.